The galaxy had grown used to one truth: no empire could stand against the Dominion. Their fleets were endless, their weapons unmatched, and their conquests always left silence in their wake. World after world had fallen, and the Council of Free Races had nothing left but fear. Every fleet sent against the Dominion had been broken. Every armada burned in the dark. Still, the Council had gathered again. It was not a meeting of hope, but of desperation. Holograms of leaders from dozens of species filled the chamber. Their faces showed the same thing: fear mixed with anger. Words filled the air. But all led to the same point. They had no answer. The Dominion's latest victory was fresh in their minds. The Karis' fleet, the largest the galaxy had ever seen, had been destroyed in less than 3 hours. Not one ship had survived. The Dominion had broadcast the wreckage across the stars as a warning. If the strongest had fallen, what chance did the rest have? A silence spread through the chamber. No one wanted to say it, but everyone felt it. The war was already lost. Some spoke of surrender. Others spoke of retreating into the far reaches of space, hiding like animals. Neither choice was survival. Both were death, only slower than the name came. Quiet at first. A whisper. Humans. The word made the chamber shift. Some species laughed bitterly, others looked confused. To most of the galaxy, humanity was a myth-minor race, too small and too young to matter.
Wow.
They had kept to themselves, building no empire, refusing to join the council. Few had ever seen a human in person. And yet the whisper grew louder, repeated by more voices. The council leader, an ancient being with silver skin and dark eyes, demanded silence. Humans, you speak of ghosts. Their fleets are nothing compared to the Dominion. But then a Keller, Admiral, spoke. His voice trembled as if caught between fear and hope. I have seen them fight. Once, long ago, in a border war no one remembers. Their ships were old, their weapons crude, but they fought with something I have never seen before. They did not retreat, they did not fear. They bled, they burned, and still they advanced. The chamber stirred. Some scoffed, but others listened. Stories of humanity had always carried shadows, rumors of stubbornness, of soldiers who fought even when broken. A death world species, some called them. Too dangerous, too unpredictable. Perhaps that was why they had stayed apart from the galaxy? But the council was desperate, and desperation makes even whispers sound like salvation. The debate raged. Would humans even come, if called? Would they fight for others, for strangers? No one knew, but in the end, they had no choice. A signal was sent toward Sol, the human home system. Call for help. A warning that the galaxy itself was on the edge of death. Weeks passed. The Dominion pressed further, each conquest closer to the Council's heart. No reply came. Hope died in silence. Some believed the humans had ignored them. Others believed the humans were already gone, destroyed in secret. By the Dominion long ago, then it happened. A scout ship returned from the edge of Council space with a message. A single line carried in a burst of encrypted code. No one understood the language at first, but translation revealed something chilling and simple. We heard you, the Council. Chamber froze when the words were spoken aloud. No declaration, no promise, only those 2 words. Yet the weight behind them was undeniable. And then came the sighting. Dominion fleets were gathering near the world of Terran, preparing to crush the last defenses. Thousands of ships filled the void. The galaxy braced for another massacre. But before the battle could begin, something new appeared on the long range. Sensors. At first, only shadows. Then shapes. A fleet, unknown, cutting through the void with precision. No insignia marked their holes, only silence and dark steel. The Dominion hailed them, demanding identification. No reply. Then the human fleet opened fire. The Dominion was not used to hesitation. When they entered a system, they expected surrender or fire, nothing else. But this time, when the unknown fleet appeared on the edge of Terran's system, the Dominion paused. Their commander studied the strange ships, calculating, waiting for the first sign of weakness. The ships looked different from anything the galaxy had seen. No bright colors, no shining emblems, no curved design like the Council's fleets. They were dark, angular, built with purpose instead of beauty. They looked like weapons given shape, silent and heavy with intent. The Dominion sent another signal. Still no answer. The silence itself was insulting. So the Dominion fired first. Lances of energy shot across the void, bright lines tearing through space. They struck the lead human vessel A instead of exploding. The ship seemed to bend the fire around itself. Shields. No, something stranger. The energy dispersed, leaving the hull untouched. The humans answered. No words, no warning, just fire. Blue-white beams erupted from their ships. Not like the Dominion's scattered lances, but focused, sharp, almost. Surgical, one Dominion cruiser vanished in an instant, carved apart like paper. Another followed, then a third. The Dominion's confidence cracked. Yet we had faced fleets 10 times their size without flinching. Yet here, against a force half their number, they were bleeding ships in the opening minutes. On Terran below, soldiers and civilians watched from the planet's surface as the impossible unfolded. For weeks they had prepared for death, digging. Shelters that would not protect them, waiting for the sky to burn. Instead, they saw Dominion ships bursting apart, fire raining into the void. For the first time in living memory, the Dominion was retreating, regrouping against an enemy they could not immediately crush. Inside the Council's command chamber, the news spread like wildfire. Holograms flickered to life showing grainy images of the battle. Leaders who had been ready to abandon hope now leaned forward, unable to believe. The humans had come, and they were winning. But victory was not yet certain. The Dominion adapted quickly. Our second wave tightened formation, shields overlapping, weapons concentrating fire. For every human strike, the Dominion answered with a storm. The void lit up with death. A human frigate took a direct hit. Its hull split, flames spilling into space. But even as it died, it turned, engines flaring bright. It rammed itself into a Dominion cruiser, both ships shattering in the explosion. The watchers across the galaxy held their breath. Who were these humans who fought without hesitation? Who chose death if it meant taking the enemy with them? The Dominion began to falter. For the first time in centuries, their commanders tasted something unfamiliar doubt. They tried to pull back, regroup, but the humans pressed forward without pause. They fought like predators that had caught the scent of blood. Every maneuver designed to tear, to break, to destroy. When the battle finally ended, the stars around Terran were littered with wreckage. Hundreds of Dominion ships burned, their hulks drifting in silence. The human fleet remained, battered but standing, and then, at last, they spoke. A transmission spread across the system, translated into the common tongue of the Council. Was calm, steady, without pride or boasting. This is the Terran fleet. Terran is under our protection. If the Dominion wishes to test us again, they will find only death. The words carried farther than just Terran. Every listening outpost, every hidden channel in the Council picked them up. Across the galaxy, species who had lost all hope felt a spark ignite. The humans had declared war, not for glory, not for conquest, but for defense. The Dominion heard the words as well. Their war halls, leaders raged at the insult. No one spoke to them like that. No one defied them. Their pride demanded an answer. They would not allow this small, unknown race to stand in their way. Plans were drawn, fleets assembled. The Dominion swore they would crush the humans as they had crushed every other. But in the darkness of space, whispers began to spread. Whispers of ships with black holes and burning weapons. Whispers of soldiers who never surrendered, who fought to the last breath. Whispers of humanity, the predators from Sol who had finally stepped into the war. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for what came next. The Dominion did not forgive. The defeat at Terran was not just a loss. It was an insult burned into their pride. Never before had they been forced to retreat. Never before had their enemies dared to declare protection over a world. To them, The humans were not a new enemy. They were a disease to be cut out before it spread. So the Dominion gathered. From across their vast empire, fleets converged. Carriers, destroyers, dreadnoughts, more firepower than most galaxies had seen in an age. Their commanders spoke with certainty. One battle had been lost, yes, but numbers would bury any resistance. Even predators could drown in fire. The Council watched in terror. Reports showed the Dominion was moving toward the Sol system itself. No species had ever dared such a thing before, striking directly at the human home. Many Council leaders feared this was the end, that the humans, for all their bravery, would be swept away before the storm. But the humans did not panic. In the Sol system, preparations began with cold precision. Shipyards that had once been quiet erupted with activity. Old hulls were pulled from deep storage, rearmed, reforged. Civilian crews volunteered to take up arms. Soldiers drilled in silence, their faces set, their voices steady. There was no fear in them, only resolve. When questioned by a council envoy, a human admiral explained in simple words, "We've been preparing for this our entire history. We always knew something would come." The envoy did not understand. To them, war was an interruption of peace. But to the humans, war was an old shadow, always waiting. Days passed, then weeks. The Dominion Armada crossed the edge of Sol space. Thousands of ships stretched across the void, their formation so vast it blotted out the stars. The humans did not meet them head-on. Instead, their ships vanished into the dark. No signals, no responses, just silence. The Dominion advanced deeper, growing confident, mocking the enemy they believed had fled. Then the ambush began. From the asteroid fields of the Kuiper Belt, human cruisers emerged, firing in coordinated strikes. Dominion ships exploded before they could even turn. Mines hidden among the rocks detonated. Tearing through formations, the Dominion tried to regroup, but every time they shifted, the humans were already there. Hidden weapon platforms lit up in the darkness. Frigates darted in, launching torpedoes, vanishing before counterfire could reach them. It was not a battle. It was a hunt. In the command ships of the Dominion, confusion spread. Their numbers meant nothing if they could not find their enemy. They fired into empty space, wasting energy, striking shadows. For the first time in their long history of conquest, they were not the hunters. They were prey. A message spread across the human fleet, repeated by every captain: no retreat. No mercy. Hours turned into days. The battle stretched, broken into 1,000 ambushes, each one draining the Dominion more. Their fleets shrank with every passing hour, their commanders growing desperate. Then came the turning point. The humans revealed something the Council had never imagined. From the hidden moons of Neptune, massive structures unfolded, giant cannons powered by the planet's core itself. When they fired, the void itself seemed to shatter. Entire Dominion dreadnoughts disappeared in single blasts, their shields useless. The galaxy watched in silence as reports reached them. The Dominion, the unstoppable force, was bleeding like never before. Their ships burned. Their formations collapsed. And at the center of it all were the humans, calm, relentless, unbroken. When the battle finally ended, space around Neptune was a graveyard. Thousands of Dominion ships destroyed, their wreckage drifting like broken bones. The survivors fled. Scattered, their pride shattered. On Earth, there was no celebration. The humans simply prepared for the next fight. For they knew the Dominion would return, angrier, stronger, more desperate, and the humans would be ready. Across the galaxy, the whispers grew louder. Species who had hidden in fear began to hope. If the Dominion could be defeated here, maybe they could be defeated everywhere. But with hope came questions. Who exactly were the humans? How had they built weapons no one else had ever seen? What secrets lay hidden on their world? And in the dark halls of the Dominion, their leaders swore vengeance. This was no longer a war for conquest. It was a war for pride. A war to erase humanity from existence. The galaxy stood on the edge of something new. The age of fear was ending. The age of humanity had begun. The Dominion did not sleep. After their defeat in Sol's outer system, their war councils burned. With rage, to lose once could be explained. To lose twice was shame. To lose against humans, an unimportant race most had ignored, was something their empire could not allow. They began preparing a response greater than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Entire sectors were stripped of ships. Resources were pulled from every conquered world. The Dominion would not send a fleet this time. They would send a storm. Whispers of this gathering force reached the council. Fear gripped every chamber. If the humans had barely survived one armada, how could they resist the largest mobilization in Dominion history? Some leaders begged the council to surrender before the storm reached them. Others argued to hide, to scatter their people into the dark. But then the humans sent a message. It was short, almost careless. "Stand firm, we are not finished." The words spread like fire across the galaxy. On worlds where despair had been, heavy sparks of hope returned. The humans spoke with certainty, as if they carried some truth no one else could see. Still, doubt remained. The Dominion Armada was beyond imagining. And this time, they would not stop at Sol. Their maps showed a path deeper into council space, a strike meant to destroy not just the humans, but everyone who stood with them. Human admirals knew this as well. They gathered in shadowed rooms beneath Earth's surface, their plans hidden even from their closest allies. They had no illusions. Numbers alone could not win. If they tried to match the Dominion ship for ship, they would be buried. The answer was not size. The answer was something else. When the Armada finally moved, the galaxy trembled. More than 20,000 Dominion ships crossed into human-protected space. Their formations spread across light years, a wave of fire that promised only death. The first clash happened at the colony world of Helios. The Dominion descended like a hammer, confident they would crush the defenders in minutes. But the humans had been waiting. Hidden within Helios's twin suns were stations' immense rings disguised as solar collectors. When the Dominion fleet entered orbit, the rings awoke. Blinding beams erupted, powered by the stars themselves. Dominion destroyers burned in seconds, their shields torn apart. The survivors tried to escape, only to find human cruisers already behind them, herding them into kill zones. Helios did not fall. Dominion did. But this was only the beginning. At every world the Armada struck, the humans were already there. Not in force, but with traps, with hidden weapons, with strategies no one else had dared to use. Planets turned into fortresses. Asteroid belts became minefields. Even gas giants were laced with weapons, their storms hiding fleets that burst forth at the perfect moment. The Dominion fought hard. They destroyed cities. They burned colonies. But every time they thought victory was close, the humans appeared again, bleeding them, cutting their numbers. The Armada was dying not in one great battle, but in 1,000 wounds. For the Council, it was like watching a miracle. These humans, once dismissed as primitives, were teaching the galaxy how to fight again. Not with numbers, not with size, but with cunning, with will. With the refusal to break, still the war was far from over. At the heart of the Dominion, their leaders realized something dangerous. The humans were not just resisting, they were changing the galaxy. The longer this war continued, the more other species would rise. Soon, the Dominion might not be facing just humanity. They might be facing everyone. And so, the Dominion made a decision. If humanity could not be crushed with fleets, then they would be erased with something greater. Plans were drawn for a weapon not seen in centuries, something banned even among their own kind, a weapon that could burn entire systems in a single strike. The Council did not know of this. The humans did not yet see it. But in the dark, the Dominion was preparing an end that would shake the stars themselves. On Earth, however, the humans did not rest. Factories burned through the night. New warships launched every week. Soldiers trained in silence, ready for what came next. And among the admirals, one thought grew louder: Perhaps defense was not enough. Perhaps it was time to take the war into Dominion space. The galaxy waited. The storm was not over. It was only building. The Dominion had never been forced into desperation before. It always crushed their enemies through sheer power, leaving nothing but ashes. But now, after defeat upon defeat, they turned to weapons forbidden, even within their own empire. The weapon had no name in their language and lead warnings from ancient records. It was said to tear the heart from a star itself, turning entire systems into tombs. While their engineers worked in secret, the Dominion sent smaller fleets to keep pressure on the humans. These attacks were brutal, designed not to win but to wound. Human colonies at the edge of soul space were raided. Civilians were slaughtered. Planets were left in fire. The Council begged humanity to fall back, to guard their home system only. But the humans refused. For every world the Dominion struck, humans sent ships in response. Sometimes only a handful of frigates arrived, but they fought with such ferocity that the Dominion could never claim easy victories. It was during one of these battles that the galaxy first saw something stranger than human courage. At the colony of Dravos, Dominion ships surrounded a human outpost. Outnumbered 5-1, the defenders had no chance. Yet as the battle reached its breaking point, a new ship arrived, different from the others. Its hull was black as night, its shape unfamiliar, its weapons unknown. In silence, it opened fire. Dominion ships fell apart as if cut by an invisible blade. In minutes, the fleet that had seemed invincible was nothing but wreckage. The Council demanded answers. What was this ship? Where had it come from? The humans gave no explanation. They only said, "Old shadows have woken." Whispers spread faster than light. Had humanity been hiding weapons from another age? Did they possess technology even older than the Dominion? No one knew, and the humans would not say. The Dominion, however, knew fear. Their records spoke of ancient wars, of civilizations that had once ruled the stars before vanishing in fire. Could it be that the humans had found remnants of those lost powers? Could they have built their strength on secrets buried in time? Still, the Dominion pressed on. They could not stop. Pride would not allow it. More fleets were thrown into the war. More worlds burned. Yet with each victory, the humans answered harder, sharper, as if every loss only fueled their resolve. Then came the moment that changed everything. A Dominion strike force targeted a Council capital world, Vera, home to billions. They believed the humans would be too far away to stop them. They were wrong. When the Dominion fleet entered orbit, human warships were already there, waiting in silence. Not dozens, hundreds, more than the galaxy had ever seen together. Where had they come from? No one could explain. But they were real, and their guns were ready. The battle was chaos. Dominion dreadnoughts clashed with human cruisers. Fighters swarmed in the void. Explosions lit the skies above Vera, so bright that even those on the surface could see the stars turning red dot at the height of the battle. A massive Dominion flagship broke through, its weapons aimed at the planet below. Billions of lives hung on its next strike. But then the black ship appeared again, the same vessel seen at Dravos. With a single blast, it ripped the Dominion flagship apart. The people of Vera saw the fire streak across their sky, and for the first time, they cheered. The Dominion retreated, leaving thousands of wrecks behind. The humans had not just defended a world, they had saved the heart of the Council. Afterward, messages poured in from every corner of the galaxy. Races that had hidden for centuries sent envoys. Some begged to join the human alliance. Others offered weapons, ships, anything they had. Humanity was no longer fighting alone. They had become the shield of the galaxy. But with each victory, the Dominion's rage grew colder, sharper. They no longer saw humanity as an obstacle. They saw them as a threat greater than any before. And in secret, their weapon neared completion. The one meant to end stars themselves. On Earth, the humans knew. Their spies had caught whispers. Their admirals spoke in hushed voices. They understood what was coming. It a weapon that could not be blocked, that could burn entire systems at once. And so, for the first time, the humans made a decision they had avoided. They would no longer wait for the Dominion to strike. They would carry the war into Dominion territory. If the galaxy was to survive, humanity would have to become not just defenders, but executioners. The predators had been patient, but patience had an end. The galaxy had never seen humans fight outside their own borders. Till now, they had always defended, always struck back only when attacked. But everything changed the day the Terran fleet crossed into Dominion space. It began without warning. Dominion outposts along the frontier reported shadows on their scanners, then silence. When reinforcements arrived, they found nothing but debris drifting in the void. Entire garrisons had vanished, destroyed so completely that not even distress signals escaped. At first, the Dominion commanders dismissed it as small raids. They sent patrols, convinced they would corner the humans. None returned. Soon, entire sectors went dark. Then came the message, carried on Dominion frequencies, clear and sharp in their own tongue. We are inside your empire now. Every world that sends ships against us will burn. This is not defense. This is war. The Dominion raged. But beneath their anger lay something new, fear. For centuries they had been the hunters, marching wherever they pleased. While the humans hunted them, the Council watched in silence as reports arrived. Human fleets were moving deeper, striking fast, vanishing before Dominion reinforcements could arrive. Shipyards were destroyed. Communication hubs silenced. Worlds that had once felt safe under Dominion rule now shook with terror. Still, the humans were careful. They did not strike civilian cities. They targeted only fleets, weapons, and the Empire's war machine. It was not mercy, it was strategy. They wanted the Dominion to see their strength, to feel powerless, to know that nothing could protect them. But even as human victories spread, a shadow loomed. The Dominion's secret weapon was almost ready, hidden deep in their core systems. Beyond layers of defense, the project neared completion. A weapon that could collapse the heart of a star, turning entire solar systems into fire. With such a weapon, the Dominion believed they could erase Earth itself in a single strike. Human intelligence had already caught whispers of it. In hidden chambers beneath Mars, human admirals studied fragments of intercepted data. They knew what the Dominion was building, and they knew time was running short, so a new plan was formed. Humanity would not wait for the weapon to be unleashed. It would strike at the Dominion's core before it was ready. It was madness. The Dominion's heart was the most fortified region in the galaxy. Dozens of fleets guarded it. Entire moons had been turned into weapons. No army had ever reached it, not even in the ancient wars of legend. Yet the humans prepared. Across soul space, factories worked without rest. New warships launched daily, their black holes vanishing into the void. Old vessels, once thought broken, were reforged with strange new weapons. Rumors spread that humanity had unlocked secrets hidden beneath their own oceans and ice, secrets left untouched for thousands of years. When the Council begged to know more, the humans answered with silence. They shared no designs, no technology. Only one promise: stand with us, and we will end this. And so, the galaxy watched as the Terran fleet gathered. Not at Earth, not at Mars, but far beyond, at the edge of the stars, where no Dominion eyes could see. Thousands of ships assembled in the dark, silent and waiting. The humans called it simple: the return strike. The day it began. The Dominion believed they were still in control. They were already plotting their final assault on Sol. But then, their outer defenses screamed. Entire sectors reported human fleets bypassing their lines. Starbases exploded before alarms finished sounding. The humans were not defending anymore. They were cutting into the Dominion's veins. The first great clash came at Raylan, fortress world thought to be impenetrable. 10 fleets defended it. The humans broke them in 3 hours. Black ships moved like knives, their weapons tearing through shields that had once been called eternal. When the smoke cleared, Raylan's defenses were gone, its sky filled with fire. News spread faster than light. For the first time in history, the Dominion's heartlands were bleeding. Panic gripped their rulers. If humanity could reach this far, How much further could they go? But in secret, the Dominion smiled a cruel smile. Let the humans come. Then push deeper. The weapon was almost ready, and when it fired, it would burn not just fleets, but stars themselves. The humans did not know the exact time. They only knew the truth. Every day they delayed meant the weapon grew closer to completion, and so the Terran fleet pressed on, deeper into the fire, toward the core of the enemy. The greatest gamble in galactic history had begun. The Dominion did not know it yet, but their empire was collapsing. The Terran fleet had breached their outer defenses, slicing through entire sectors with speed no one thought possible. Yet the heart of the Dominion still waited, protected by walls of fire, fleets, and moons converted into weapons. Humanity's next move would decide everything. The humans gathered at the edge of the Dominion's core systems. Thousands of ships hovered in the darkness, black holes blending with the void. Among them, the admirals studied star charts and intercepted Dominion communications. Every weakness, every blind spot, every trap had been noted. There was no margin for error. The first strike came silently. Human stealth vessels slipped past the outermost lines, invisible to even the Dominion's advanced sensors. Then, as if the void itself obeyed them, the main fleet followed, slicing through defenses with precision. The Dominion thought it an accident. They thought it a small raid. It was not. By the time the outer fleets realized what was happening, the humans were already inside. Starbases meant to protect the core were destroyed before alarms finished. Supply lines were cut. Entire battle formations evaporated in hours. Humanity was not just fighting. They were hunting, targeting every command center, every shipyard, every point of control. In the central system, the superweapon hummed, its power growing every hour. Dominion leaders believed they still had time, but human intelligence had uncovered its location. They knew the countdown. They knew the weapon could not fire if they struck first, and so they did. A squadron of black ships, older than most of the Dominion's history, approached the weapon facility. No one expected them. Defense. Grids opened fire, unleashing torrents of energy, yet the ships moved through the fire without hesitation. Torpedoes, beams, missiles all vanished against strange shields. No Dominion engineer understood. When the humans arrived, they deployed a device, simple in appearance, deadly in effect. Energy pulses rippled through the superweapon, destabilizing it, tearing it apart from the inside. Dominion commanders watched in disbelief as the heart of their empire's greatest terror began to unravel. But the weapon was not yet dead. A surge of energy erupted. Entire sections of the system threatened to ignite. The human fleet adapted instantly, firing with calculated precision to contain the blasts. Every moment counted. Every second could mean the end of thousands of ships or billions of lives in the chaos. Human pilots showed the courage that had become legendary. Fighters dove into superheated debris to disable firing grids. Cruisers maneuvered through collapsing satellites to strike command nodes. Each move was dangerous beyond comprehension, yet they executed it perfectly. Finally, the superweapon collapsed. Its energy ripped outward in a massive shockwave, but the human fleet had anticipated it. Black holes twisted through the blast, shields absorbing the worst. The Dominion's dream of annihilation became ashes. The heart of the Dominion was vulnerable now. Human ships advanced further, striking every command ship in sight. Fleets once thought untouchable were shattered. Worlds that had trembled under the Dominion's rule now saw freedom, or at least the shadow of it. The Council watched the transmission. In awe, the humans had done what no one else could even imagine. They had not only destroyed the superweapon, but carved into the enemy's heart. Entire systems were liberated, and the Dominion's arrogance was broken. Yet even as victory spread, the humans showed no pride. They did not celebrate. They prepared for the final push. For the Dominion still existed, and they knew the fight was not over. The galaxy would remember this day, the day humans revealed not just courage, but something far older and deadlier, their unwillingness to be defeated. And so the stage was set for the final confrontation. The Dominion, humiliated and furious, would not retreat quietly. The humans, relentless and precise, would not stop until the threat itself was gone. The shadows of war stretched across the stars, and the galaxy waited. For the final battle would decide the fate of every civilization, and the humans, quiet, stubborn, unstoppable, stood at the center of it all. The Dominion was broken, but not finished. What remained of their fleets gathered in a last desperate stand. Commanders who had never known defeat now trembled. Their pride demanded victory, their fear demanded survival, but the humans had already proven they could have neither. Across the void, the Terran fleet advanced. Thousands of black ships moved like shadows through starlight. The humans had not come for negotiation, they had come for the end. Every maneuver, every strike, every formation was planned to perfection. The first clash began near the Dominion capital world. Outnumbered and cornered, the Dominion fought with fury. Beam cannons lit the void, missiles streaked through space, and warships collided in fire and metal. Yet the humans moved like one organism. They dodged, they struck, and they disappeared before the Dominion could respond in the midst of battle. A Dominion commander broadcast a challenge. "Surrender, humans. Your fight is meaningless. You cannot win against an empire." The reply came not in words but in action. Human dreadnought, larger than any Dominion ship, appeared behind his fleet. Its weapons fired in a deadly coordinated sweep, destroying half his armada in seconds. There was no room for pride, no chance for retreat. Humanity advanced like the tide, relentless and unyielding. On the Dominion capital, cities burned. Yet the humans did not target civilians. They struck only at war facilities, control towers, and ships in orbit. Each strike was precise, deliberate. A warning that humanity would not harm the innocent, but would not tolerate threats. Hours turned into days. Dominion fleets crumbled under unrelenting pressure. Entire sectors fell in one coordinated sweep after another. Command structures collapsed. Soldiers abandoned ships. Even the most loyal admirals realized that the humans were not just fighters, they were a force of nature. Finally, the humans reached the heart of the Dominion command. Their flagship entered the capital's orbit. From its bridge, the admiral gave a single order: end this war. The Dominion leaders sent their most powerful weapon, an enormous dreadnought armed with every cannon and missile ever built against the human flagship. The two titans collided in space, the explosion lighting up the system like a second sun. Shields faltered, hulls burned, and for a moment seemed even humans could fall. But they did not. The flagship's hidden weapons activated, cannons older than most Dominion history, powered by strange technology no one understood, tore through the dreadnought. Its defenses collapsed, and the super weapon they had hoped to wield against humanity was destroyed forever. With the fall of their command ship, the remaining Dominion forces surrendered. No one tried to escape. The galaxy had witnessed the impossible. The humans had not only survived, they had conquered the unconquerable. Across council space, news spread. Species that had lived under fear for generations now saw hope. Humanity had not just defeated an empire, they had shown the galaxy a new truth. Cunning, courage, and willpower could overcome even the mightiest foes. On Earth, celebrations were quiet but heartfelt. Humans did not boast. They did not parade. They rebuilt. They repaired. For them, the war had never been about glory. It had been about survival, protection, and proving that even the smallest race could rise to the stars. In the Dominion, survivors whispered stories. They spoke of humans who never surrendered, who fought without hesitation, and who wielded powers beyond imagination. It thought the galaxy's armies would never be challenged. They were wrong. And in the dark corners of space, other civilizations listened. The legend of humanity spread like fire. Not because humans wanted power, but because they had earned it. Every fleet defeated, every world saved. Every act of courage became part of a story the galaxy would never forget. The humans had arrived, and in doing so, they had changed everything. The galaxy learned a simple truth that day: underestimate humans, and you would pay the highest price. The stars were no longer silent. They had witnessed the rise of a new force, a race that would never bow, never surrender, and never forget the value of life. Strategy. The humans' disorder. The humans had won. The galaxy would never be the same again.